What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages? Joker back again, once again. So, Trials is on indefinite hiatus. The reason Bungie gave stated, with the introduction of Trials of the Nine in Destiny 2, we made a few changes to the formula which never really hit the same mark. We were unhappy with its role in the ecosystem. The new activity wasn't achieving the goals of bringing the community together every weekend. Now, in my opinion, that's some pretty faulty logic. They're essentially blaming the poor performance of Trials during year 1 of Destiny 2 on Trials, and not the fact that the game was an utter mess and hemorrhaging players. We haven't seen Trials in the post-Forsaken ecosystem, but I'm of the mind that it would be a pretty shit experience. Go play competitive. Hell, just go play PvP in general. The meta isn't the most balanced. And to be fair, in a game like Destiny, the concept of traditional balance, something like Halo, is virtually impossible. We saw Bungie's overcorrection for the perceived PvP imbalance of Destiny 1 at the start of Destiny 2. Special weapons had been moved to heavy, supers were abilities were shit. The game was basically you and your team glue your ass to a corner and shoot down a lane. And, to be fair, part of that was the sandbox and part of that was map design. But long story short, it sucked. And it took Bungie a year to really fix the game, to reintroduce that power fantasy. Now, in my opinion, with the exception of outliers like Luna's Howl, Not Forgotten, Wardcliff, shotguns, basically anything that's super meta right now, they did a pretty good job. And to be completely honest, I'm not even upset about the outliers I just listed. They're power spikes, and something will always be meta. It is what it is, so why not them? In fact, my issue with Luna and Not Forgotten has nothing to do with balance. It has everything to do with the stagnation they bring when it comes to creating loot due to how difficult they are to get. These weapons should be powerful. However, if you introduce something that's easier to get, that's as, if not more powerful than Luna and Not Forgotten, then you make the grind for Luna and Not Forgotten somewhat irrelevant. So in order to make these things not irrelevant, you have to balance everything under them. And there is something to be said for the dichotomy of players who have and players who have not. Now, they could introduce a second way to get these weapons, which I'm sure would piss a lot of PvP players off, but if you do that, you can say goodbye to what little weapon diversity currently exists in Destiny. So it's kind of a no-win scenario. Again, I'm not bitching about Luna and Not Forgotten's existence. Really, I don't care. I'm just outlining a problem with the current meta, and how it's about as competitive as an unarmed man fighting an 800-pound silverback gorilla. That doesn't mean I don't enjoy PvP. I play it a lot. It's pretty much where I spend most of my time in Destiny, but it's not balanced in a way that one could even consider remotely fair or competitive. More so with top-tier weapons like Luna's and Not Forgotten being so exclusive, which really isn't a problem, but it is kind of a problem if you want anything to be remotely competitive. Now, why is that a problem, you might be wondering? Well, we've done this song and dance before. Once you introduce something like Trials, something that people get super serious about, the screeching for balance becomes even louder. Currently, you can just look at Destiny's PvP as an unbalanced mess that you go into and you're overpowered and you have fun. When you throw in something competitive like Trials, you give it cool loot, you give it a gimmick where you have to win a bunch of games in a row, you create an environment that brings out the worst in the Destiny community. And everything very quickly devolves into the game of buffs and nerfs and who can exploit what, and outright cheating. I think reintroducing Trials would be a Herculean task. The sandbox would need retooled again, for starters, because currently it's not competitive. It can be fun, I enjoy running around with a shotgun and cross-mapping people, but it's not balanced. Then they would need to create rewards and lore, and one must wonder, how worth it would that effort be? More so at this point, from a logistical standpoint. This kind of overhaul sounds like the sort of content drop that Bungie has built the season pass around. So now you have to think about it economically. Most of Bungie's team is probably off working on Destiny 3, or some super secret game that we may eventually find out about. And then you have the teams working on the content for the season pass, which is currently the last thing that Vicarious Visions is doing after the Bungie Activision split. But in the future, with the next season pass, Bungie won't have those support studios, so what do? Do they try to build content for a minority of the player base, or do they create something more general for the general population? That's not to say that I don't think they're still trying to fix Trials, but given the logistics, I don't think it's a high priority. In fact, they said as much, they don't even have a prototype. All of that said, I would still be pretty fucking ecstatic if we see Season Pass 2.0 announced, and on it is Season of the Nine or Season of Osiris. Just throwing that out there. All in all, this is one of those Bungie decisions that I get it. I'm not necessarily happy about it, but I get it. It makes sense. It's somewhat logical even. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. And like always, stay frosty.